This episode of The Breakfast Dish is brought to you by the NorthWestFest International Documentary Festival, running online from May 6th to 16th.
And here's some free advice. This is my grandmother's favorite film festival ever.
Even though NorthWestFest can't happen in a movie theater this year, they've still put together an outstanding lineup of some of the year's best docs.
And I just want to pop in here and say I want you to think about her and her best friend Lynn not being able to go in person. So stay home and wear your masks, because that makes me sad.
In fact, this year there are a whopping 40 feature films plus 40 short films available for viewing to anyone in Alberta.
Yeah, anyone including Lynn, who recently said I was a nice man.
This is your chance to stream some of the hottest new docs from Canada and abroad, many of which are Canadian, international, and even world premieres.
Some would even say Edmontonian, like Sandy and Lynn, who can't go to NorthWestFest.
All access streaming passes, ticket packs, and single tickets are available now at northwestfest.ca.
Sandy and Lynn don't have a website, so you should go to NorthWestFest and support it so it'll stick around until they can attend in person. Buy you some popcorn.
Tell me your dreams over bacon and eggs. We'll share a laugh and a story and even a wish on the breakfast dish. Bop, 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 bop.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to episode 37 of The Breakfast Dish, starring me, Karen Johnson-Diamond, and also starring, but I get first credit, my son, Griffin Cork.
No, you're going to be speaking to my manager about that.
Aren't I your manager? When did you actually get a manager? Who got you your first audition, kid? Who did it? Nikki Loach. It was actually Nikki Loach got you your first audition.
Wait, but was it Tiny Tim or was it Turkey Boy?
It was Turkey Boy. You were auditioning for Turkey Boy at Christmas Carol.
I never got a Tiny Tim audition?
By the time you were auditioning for Turkey Boy, you were 7 and already too tall to be Tiny Tim.
Honestly, this has been rigged from the start.
You're a long, tall drink of water. I, however, in my life, have played Tiny Tim 3 times.
And Griffin will play Turkey Boy at some point.
What, you talking to me, sir? The one as big as me, brother.
You've been practicing. It's good.
Yeah, I practice every Friday night, and I kind of weep just in the mirror.
How do we get on the Christmas Carol at the beginning of our episode of The Breakfast Dish?
I mean, it has snowed.
You're right. It snowed. It feels like Christmas.
Yeah, please.
Hey, Griffin.
Do you have news, or were you about to transition to the guest?
Well, either one. Tell me what to do.
No, don't tell me what to do. It's starring you. I'm the co-star. You
Okay.
go.
I have news. We're recording this on a Saturday morning because it is Breakfast Dish, after all. After this recording, Griffin's coming over to have breakfast, and I found some bacon in the freezer.
Bacon Boy.
That's my news.
Okay, so introducing that story without context, it sounds like the last time I came over for breakfast, I yelled at you with no bacon. Griffin, don't worry. We found it this time. I should say that we are actually going to be watching Paper Bag Princess with Storybook Theater, who we chatted with previous guests.
That's our date. 11 a.m., eggs and bacon and toast, watching Storybook Theater. Anyway, Griffin, transition us first into what the bloody heck it is we do on this podcast called The Breakfast Dish.
Okay, are you ready?
I'm so ready.
Sometimes when you make bacon, you get a little grease. Sometimes. And sometimes when you make bacon, you get a little blood. And, Karen, let me, don't interrupt my transition with your face. Sometimes you get a little blood, sometimes you get a little grease, but after drinking bacon, you're pretty thirsty. There's a film in Cubs lineup called Bloodthirsty. That's where I was going, Karen. So we're talking to the senior programmer from the Calgary Underground Film Festival, Cam Macgowan. Cam, I apologize for the transition, and hello.
Hello. No, that was a nice transition. Yeah, blood, grease. Both
Thirst.
Great things. They add a lot of flavor.
One of Bloodthirsty's promo images is I think it's one of the women drinking like just straight up blood off a plate.
Okay.
I was really trying to get there and I really couldn't find it.
Yeah, I mean, you go back, we should be using every part of the animal, and so I'm not against that. Blood soup's fine, blood sausage, it's got nutrients.
That's awesome, using every part of the animal, because listen, up until March of 2020, we were only using part of the artistic Albertan animal. We were just doing things live. There wasn't a lot of things happening online. But now that we're in stay away from each other times, we have to look at all the art that's happening online, which is a lot, and it's amazing. And that's what we do on this podcast. And that's finding the rest of the Alberta artistic animal to use.
That's right. That's the Calgary Underground Film Festival. And we are the rest. We are the offal of the Alberta animal. You know, we're the proud offal.
What's an offal?
Yeah, we're the offal. Yeah, stomach lining. We're the useful stuff that is underground and unseen. And, that is within all of us.
And actually, you're kind of taking a dive into it, but do you want to kind of just give a rundown of Cuff, how Cuff started, how you started with Cuff? Because that's actually something I don't know.
Sure, man. Yeah, this is the 18th annual Calgary Underground Film Festival, and it's my 10th year with the festival as a programmer.
Wow.
And we kicked off the year entering Movie Maker's top 50 genre film festivals in the world list, which was a huge honor because as a filmmaker myself, I often used that list to see who I should submit to. So now that we're on it, we're on a lot of great indie filmmakers' radars, which is extremely cool, and it really was noticeable in the quality of submissions of films we got this year. So the whole lineup is so cool. But what we program are cutting-edge fringe films, indie genre films, things you would take your parents to and they'd go, that was interesting, and perhaps want to talk about it a bit more with coffee. Something that'll shake you up a bit more, not an episode of Law and Order, something that'll make you think, something that has a unique perspective, things that are lacking in the mainstream. So the underground is happy to shine a light on them.
That's right, Mother. No more Forensic Files. We're going to be watching Bloodthirsty.
I like Forensic Files. That's a great show because they all get resolved.
I love Forensic Files.
Yeah, that's a really good show.
Whoa. That's okay. This is a point of connection. Here we go.
Yeah, no, because unlike most true crime shows, that one has a resolution. So it's like a full story. You get the morality tale. No, I'm into Forensic Files. That's a good one.
You know, the other one is a good one is I Survived.
Oh, I'll watch that.
Because there's some true crime or whatever, but we're hearing it from the person who survived it.
That's right. I want the whole arc. I'm tired of these Netflix docs where they're all these Facebook journalists and Facebook detectives. It's like, no, you work at a 7-Eleven or a Winners part-time and solve crimes in the evening. I want to hear from the people who do it all day, all night. The experts. You're not a detective.
Yeah, well, you guys don't get it. I'm kind of in the underground of the detective business. I'm kind of taking them down from the inside. It's a 7-Eleven conspiracy.
I'm into that. That's what happened with Michelle McNamara's book, and it obviously inspired a lot of people. Should all of them have Netflix TV shows?
No.
Should
all of them have podcasts?
Yes. Yeah, well, everyone can have a podcast.
It's true.
Anyone can have a podcast.
It's true. We have a podcast, which means anybody can have
Exactly. That's the Andy Warhol quote will be corrected for our times, that everyone will have a podcast. Have 15 minutes worth of podcast before they pass.
Welcome back to my Andy Warhol podcast. In this episode, the soup can. That's my max knowledge. Cam, I have to ask because I agree that both Sif and Cuff have gained quite at least within the past 10 or 15 years, I think have gained quite a bit of prestige in terms of the festival. So can I ask you how you guys did that? There's a bunch of festivals in the world, maybe not specifically targeted genre festivals, but what is the process of getting festival notoriety, getting festival fame? Is it the way you treat your filmmakers? Is it like your curation? What are the steps?
All of the above, man. We have such a great team that have been working with Cuff for a long time. The four of us have been kind of managing the optics of the organization for a few years now, all with the intention of making sure that filmmakers know that Cuff is a festival where we will celebrate your movie. It's not about us going, hey, look at the great movie we found. It's about us going, watch this movie and talk to the filmmaker because they're going to be making cool stuff. We're not programming with ticket sales in mind, except opening night. But those are always great crowd pleasers anyway. But we're programming with discussions in mind and exciting filmmakers and promoting their work, because in the modern world, there's such a glut of content that only the lucky few have the P&R budget to advertise their movie. And so how do you become those lucky few? You need to get a reputation going. How do you get a reputation going? Vocal supporters and film festivals that celebrate your accomplishment. And we follow up with all of our filmmakers throughout the years, and on social media, we'll share their new projects. We'll always watch their upcoming work. Many of our past filmmakers are friends, and we've even rejected their work since becoming friends, and they keep coming back because they know that we have integrity and that, you know, it's all for the right reasons. And so I think that there's a genuine feel at Cuff that we really do respect the filmmakers because we're all artists ourselves. And we're a nonprofit. So at the end of the day, it's not about trying to make a bunch of money, even though it is, because we want to make more money so we can program more films, but it's not about paying ourselves. It's about representing the art and the filmmakers. And I think the filmmakers respond to that. And I think the audience responds to that because we try to keep things candid and genuine and off the cuff, forgive the platitude, but it's what we do.
That is something you rarely hear anymore, is it's about celebrating what we're showing rather than celebrating ourselves by showing what we're showing.
I know. It's a gross thing that people do now. They have this world premiere status. They're like, world premiere is so important because we want to be the ones who premiered the film. But big deal. You're the one who saw it first. Like, everyone should get to celebrate this movie. Premiere status shouldn't be a big deal. The big deal is the movie, not when you play it.
To me, it seems like Cuff operates kind of year round and in a long, like, it's not just like your 2 weeks of film. Like, you kind of stay relevant in different activities. Oh man, the amount of times that I went to the Saturday morning cartoon serial, oh boy, like you guys got, it's a wide range of stuff.
Yeah. Year round, we do our off-season events, and that all started because, in April, we would always end up with a bunch of movies that we wanted to still show. We had to kill our darlings, for a lack of a better term. And so a lot of those were documentaries. So we created Cuff Docs just because we had so many documentaries that we were passing on that weren't getting played here, weren't getting noticed online, weren't getting any attention. And so we created a documentary festival to celebrate the docs that came out between our April festivals. And so that came in November. So mid-year, we'd get to show a lot of the docs that came up through the year. However, there's so many good documentaries.
Oh, I know.
That we're still having to turn down docs that we love. So it's truly the heyday of documentary cinema, which is great news for people out there, but sad news for us because we don't get to show all of them. However, this is such a problem for us that if we love a movie, we're going to find a way to show it. So we have off-the-cuff events. They're called Off the Cuff, and we have no reason for putting them on other than we want to show the movie. So there's no promotional purpose unless it ties into us getting it because it's out like 2 days later or whatever. But it's movies we saw 6 months earlier, and we're like, we got to play that at Cuff. And they're like, no, we're coming out before Cuff. And we're like, well, we're playing it in February. So we're just nerds, right? It's what we're doing anyway. We're just lucky enough to get paid for it.
Documentaries are probably one of my favorite things besides true crime, but usually documentaries are about true crime.
Oh, yeah. The good true crime shows are, I'd say, accurate documentary form.
And I'm one of those people that turns on Netflix and then, skips past the first 17 categories to get down to documentaries. I don't care about action films or what's hot or what's new.
Yeah, you should subscribe to Canopy if you don't already, Karen. You can use your Calgary Library membership and subscribe to Canopy, and they have so many docs, thousands from around the world.
I did not know that.
Yeah, you just plug in your Calgary Public Library ID on this Canopy app. You can watch it on your computer or an app, and they have a great world cinema selection. But so many documentaries, a lot of great ones, a lot of variety too.
Okay, here's the most favorite documentary I ever saw. A bunch of inner city New York kids that are at risk of falling into gangland have been chosen by this guy to learn how to play chess. So they form this chess club and they take over the chess world. And it's just a way of keeping the kids off the street, I think. But their pride, these kids the stereotypical thing that people think that kids from the hood look like or whatever, with the hoodies and the earbuds and the no eye contact. And then they sit down and play chess and they're all just...
Yeah, that's a great thing about movies. Extreme empathy. You're forced to empathize with all types of folks. It gives you better understanding of the world. And helps destroy biases and prejudices.
Love
and
it.
what
Extreme empathy.
Movies are great. Movies are the best.
And thanks for joining us. Movies are great. And that's the podcast.
And that's been it. Movies are good. Bye, everybody. I know you're not allowed to pick any darlings, but there are a few that in Cuff's current lineup that I just have to celebrate. Bloodthirsty being one of them. So very cool local werewolf film, as well as Range Roads. Alana Holly Purvis, North County Cinema. Booyah.
Yeah, we got 2 Alberta features this year. Yeah, 2 Alberta features. So Range Roads from writer-director Kyle Thomas and producer Sarah Corey. It's the follow-up to his movie The Valley Below, which I was pleased to produce with them many years ago.
Look at you go.
Thank you. But I'm now focusing my efforts on my genre work, but I'm still an avid supporter of North Country Cinema and my good friends there. But by no means did that have an effect on programming this film. It's a wonderful movie, very heartfelt family rural drama about mortality, pursuing a life in the arts, family breakdown. It's all the honest stuff. So definitely be prepared to sit on some thoughts after watching Range Roads. But you can cleanse your palate with Bloodthirsty afterwards, which is a pop party vampire ride. It's super fun. The music's all great, written by a local musician. And Mike Peterson produced this, and Amelia Curran directed it. And it's awesome. It's really cool. I think it's her second feature film. And when I heard it was being shot up in Edmonton, everyone was like, oh, we're doing this pop music werewolf movie in Edmonton. I'm like, oh, I'm so jealous. I want to see that set. Like neon, fur, blood, pop music. That sounds like a great combo, and it is. So Alberta represent. And we have so many Alberta shorts too this year. I think there's 9 Alberta shorts spread out this year. Alberta represent, man. There's going to be a Q&A with all the Alberta short filmmakers on the last Friday of the festival.
Trevor Anderson was touting the Cuff Festival this morning on Facebook. Have you got a Trevor Anderson this year?
He's a juror this year. We had a Trevor Anderson film last year. Trevor being one of the absolute finest Alberta filmmakers. Please stay in Alberta, Trevor.
Please.
And also, he was the bridesmaid for me at my wedding.
Aww.
I love him.
Yeah, shout out to Trevor Anderson, big Cuff fan, and we're big fans of Trevor.
Because you've also brought in a cool amount of films. What was the one that I saw? Golden Arm? It has Betsy Sedaris in it?
Golden Arm was last night. Yeah,
So
Betsy
cool.
is in that. And she joined us for the Q&A last night. It went long.
Oh.
It was awesome. Super funny movie. Crowd pleaser. The folks were tweeting. And it was great because it's like, I don't like the virtual streaming world. I'm going to be straight up. It's like, I much prefer being in person. I feed off of energy and vibes. But for streaming, it was awesome last night. And then the full lineup went live at 9 p.m. right after the screening of Golden Arm. And we were amazed by how many people logged in right away and just started buying tickets to movies that they were seeing thumbnails for, because we'd seen how many tickets had pre-sold and how many passes had pre-sold. And so we were gauging for a certain number, but then last night, right at 9, people were just buying tickets like crazy. So it must be the weather and the movies, obviously. But the app is cool because you can just open it up, see all the movies, and then get the FOMO, right? You're like, oh, I wanted to see that one. I didn't buy a ticket. So you should have just bought a pass. If that happens to you,
should have.
The passes were only $99 to get 40 movies. You just didn't know what the movies were. But come on, build a trust. We've built a trust. It's $100.
We're grown-ups. We advise you. We know what the best choice for you is. And that is, you should have just got a pass.
I mean, that's if you have time. If you have time to watch over 10 movies in the week.
Hey, I know you don't like to pick darlings. I am a 54-year-old actor who loves Scrabble and Neil Diamond, and my kid, Griffin. And I am not really physically fit, and I cry at everything. So pick a movie for me, knowing those things about me. Laughter from Martine Laroche from Montreal. Okay.
You're going to love this film. It's about the effects of a futuristic civil war in Quebec. However, it's a future that's set now. So it's very mundane and political. So it feels like it was made now, but it's feeling the effects of this civil war. But throughout the film, you realize that civil war is more of a metaphor for the generational divide. that currently
Awesome.
exists. The boomer millennial divide, the world falling apart, and the people who control it don't care, and the people who are feeling the effects are trying desperately to have their voices heard. Laughter. It's crazy good.
Oh, I can't wait now. Can I just say, though, that there's never been a time in the world, I don't think, where the generations have seemed to have been at war with each other before right now. Like, I think there was always the get off my lawn, you kid. And there was always, you're an old lady, you don't know anything. But it's in this world of COVID where it feels like an us and them. You're older, so you're getting things first. You're younger, so it's your fault. You're spreading everything around because you're younger. You're the middle. You get your vaccine, but you don't because you're 10 years younger than me. Like it actually starts to feel sometimes like age wars.
This is the empathy I'm talking about, Karen. Good job being a free thinker, my friend. But it's true. It's true. And there shouldn't be a generational divide. We should all be working together so that the earth doesn't rot instead of looking for barren, rock-ridden planets to set up on when we have water and trees and breathable oxygen on this one.
We don't have to make our oxygen.
But hey, you have to drive your car a little bit less.
Well, guess what I haven't done for the last 13 months really at all.
Same. I was having car issues yesterday. I was like, oh, yeah, I haven't driven this in like 3 weeks.
I was having car issues, and that's kind of fine.
You will cry during laughter, Karen. 100%.
I cry so much.
Okay, I'll give you another one you'll cry during. So Late, So Soon. You should watch this one. This is a documentary made by a young man who took piano lessons with this established artist. And they became friends without him knowing she was an established artist. And then as he grew older, he wanted to make documentaries. And he decided just to make a documentary about her. But it turned out that she has this huge arts career and lives with her artist husband, who is this hilarious crank. And they're both in the golden years of their artistic careers, so are completely candid about their marriage and their work. And since she knows the man making the documentary, again, it's just beautifully candid. You won't want to miss that.
So Late, So Soon.
So Late, So Soon, yeah.
This is... because I know this isn't true, but there's a lot of rumors like that festival programmers, they only watch the first 10 minutes. So it's really encouraging for a festival programmer to be able to go bing, 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 bing. Here's the plot of all these movies. And like the fact that all that knowledge is in your brain, I think is a huge boon for filmmakers. And I wonder if all programmers do that.
Yeah. I mean, I'll tell you exactly how the process goes because we get so many movies. All right. So we're getting over 1,000 movies submitted. And there's 3 lead programmers, myself, Brenda, and Brendan. And so we can't possibly watch all of those. So we have a team of previewers, about 10 of them, and it's an extremely diverse group of film nuts. And our volunteer previewers are the lifeblood of Cuff, and they're all wonderful people. I wish I could shout them all out by name, but there's so many of them. But we trust their taste in film, and they watch all of them. They watch every single movie that comes in, and we make sure it's watched at least 2 to 3 times before we look at the comments. And then we read the comments, and we see, is it the type of movie for Cuff? Is it... Because there's a lot of movies that aren't, right? We get a lot of Iranian kidnapping movies, for example, that are like 30 minutes long and very hard to program. But they have been watched 3 times. So every movie does get watched. So now, if people do log into their Vimeo, filmmakers listening at home, and you see that it's been skipped through or you see that the first 10 minutes has only been watched, that's because people might be watching it again. They might be clicking through again to get a refresher on what the movie was. Or they may have paused earlier, lost the file, and have to resume and click from the middle. Or maybe they forgot where they were. So as a filmmaker, I know the neuroses of looking at that Vimeo list and going, oh, they only watched the first 3 minutes. Oh, they just kept clicking around. But as a programmer, I know I pull up movies to click around in them all the time to go, oh, right, that's the actor I'm going to be talking to. Or, oh, that's the moment that I really wanted to bring up to the other programmers as something I liked. Sometimes it's a good thing if they only watch the first 10 minutes. So yeah, just try to turn off that neurotic part in your brain that thinks everyone's against you and just trust the submission process if it's a good festival.
That's the best advice for an actor or an artist or a filmmaker. Try to turn off that neurotic part of your brain and think nobody's against you, because that's our entire life.
Oh, I know. And it took me a long time to get there. And because I have been making movies for a long time, and I made my first feature film, and it was an indie movie, and it was a piece of my heart, and I didn't want anyone to say anything critical about it. But then it got a wide release, and the internet got to watch it. And I could either avoid that and pretend that I'd made a masterpiece that everyone loved, or I could go, all right, I did my best. I put myself out into the world. Let's see what the world thought. And, the world was slightly indifferent. Some people loved it. Some people hated it. But again, I got to put out my work the best way I could. And then the work kind of did the rest. I mean, I had to follow up, obviously. But at the end of the day, just your work should speak for yourself. Just make it as good as it can possibly be and trust the process. I mean, you can hustle all you want and make all the relationships you want. But speaking as an absolute introvert who's terrible at any networking function, if you put the work in and the time in, it'll eventually pay off. You just have to ignore that voice in your head that tells you suck or that everybody hates you, because everyone doesn't hate you. They actually don't even think about you. They're indifferent to you. And there's a freedom to that.
They like the movie or they don't like the movie. It has nothing to do with
you. They don't even know who you are. And even if someone on the Twitter is mean to you directly, they still have no idea who you are. They just said something snide and they thought it was funny to say.
All right, let's stop with all the teasing. Let's talk about Red Letter Day.
Oh, yeah. That's the movie I made, Red Letter Day.
I didn't know that was that's your first feature?
As a writer-director, that's my first feature.
Woo!
Thanks, man.
All right, get into it. Tell us about it.
Okay, Red Letter Day is a satirical thriller about a newly divorced mother who has to deal with the chaos of the events of a certain day when her and her teenage children get red letters instructing them to kill their neighbors before their neighbors kill them. But I treat it in a very polite Canadian way. Everything takes place from 9 a.m. till 1 p.m. And things get quite crazy at the middle act and continue going crazy because I really wanted to pull the rug out from under people's feet, because people have expectations about Canadians, right? That we're so manners focused. And we're a very polite society. But the manners do often mask discussions we're unwilling to have with each other. And so I thought, wouldn't it be funny if there was a Twilight Zone type fuse where Canadians were forced to confront each other? And so I wanted to treat it in a way where it was just suburbanites doing this. So all the weapons are what you can find around the house. None of these people are good at violence. It's all kind of accidental. And yeah, I love the movie, man. I've seen it so many times. But it's funny because we did try to make a distinctly Canadian movie, and it turns out that has an uncanny valley effect for some people because Canadians are so close to Americans. But
wait, what does valley effect mean?
Uncanny valley is when you're looking at something that is real, but it feels fake because it's off by like a couple beats. Like, take for instance, watching a Law and Order investigation scene.
Okay.
We're used to seeing that with like gruff, type people. But when you watch Fargo, like remember the first time you watched Fargo, when it was goofy Minnesotans doing those scenes, it had a strange effect, right? You weren't used to seeing these types of people doing these things. So that's the uncanny valleys where something is almost real, but slightly off of the reality people are expecting. And I think that happens with Canadian films and Canadian actors because we look American, we don't sound American.
Right. That's a really great analogy, actually.
No one here in Canada does the cool cop grunts.
Yeah. I mean, there's a couple. That's why Kim Coates gets so much work, because he can do it.
Oh, I love Kim Coates.
Yeah, but people think he's American.
Yeah. And Comfior.
Yeah, again, yeah. They've beaten their accent. They've beaten their accents down. I'll bet most people are like, oh, Comfior, isn't he British? We're like, no.
No. Buckle up.
Buckle up.
With your affinity for genre film, is there something you could pinpoint exactly what genre film does for you rather than an Iranian kidnapping movie?
100%, man. I spend most of the day reflecting.
Get me. Buckle up.
And it's modern surrealism. It's getting to explore real demons through an artistic, exaggerated lens. And again, with extreme empathy. You're forced to put yourself in situations that are definitely not real, but you have to try to find a way to empathize with the people in these situations to enjoy the movie. Or the filmmaker has to try to get you to empathize with them, hopefully, if they're doing their job. But then on top of, morality tales and lessons in humanity, you get some of the craziest things you've ever seen. Some visuals you never thought you'd see in your life that someone conjured up from their brain. They're like, no, add 8 more tentacles and 6 more eyes. But then they have to find a way to make that fit into the narrative. And it's this beautiful dance of dream logic and, real world emotions with surreal visuals. And then you add the music. You get to do whatever you want with music in genre movies. And visuals, once you get into the surreal aspects, no holds barred. You can do whatever you want with the camera and lights. So it's truly what makes film exciting for me is seeing something I've never seen before. So whether that be a Bergman film that is, a 5-hour argument between 2 couples that's very candid and raw, or Red Letter Day where I stab a dude in the neck with a chicken. Things people haven't seen before is what genre film does best. And it's the movies of the people, because you have to deliver cheap thrills and entertainment along the way, because people paid to watch these things. So on top of being high art, in my opinion, they're high entertainment. So as a young father, I don't have much time. So movies, they check all the boxes of art for me, especially genre movies.
Tell me about your kid.
Quiet. Tell me about your son.
My part of the podcast, Griff. Tell me about your kid.
It's me, Rumpelstiltskin.
Yeah, his name's Rumpelstiltskin, Arthur Macgowan. We call him Rump. And his name's Arthur Campbell Macgowan. He's almost 2 years old. He loves Pee Wee Herman and Sesame Street so much. He has, we counted them, over 100 words.
Oh, yes.
He did his first sentence yesterday. More chips, please.
Dad, I stabbed somebody with a chicken.
Yeah. No, what's funny about people who love genre cinema is that I hang out with them all the time, and they're often the nicest people. And same with metalheads, is that the people who make time to explore the darkness of life are healthier people, in my opinion, and have less neuroses.
Ooh, that's a good point.
Yeah, they're just more game to talk about more topics, man. They're also my people, right? Of course, I'm going to gravitate to the folks who can make Jess Franco references or whatever. But I also find that horror and metal folks are welcoming, nice people for the most part, despite what the internet tells you. Don't let the vocal majority sully those who are just trying to, deal with this mortal realm in a creative way.
Genre filmmakers are great, despite what my son says.
No, my son, more chips, please. It was a Dorito he wanted.
I'm going to put this out there because, A, my son's a filmmaker, so you make this film, Griffin. B, Sesame Street. My boy grew up on Sesame Street to the point where his kindergarten class, when the teacher had to leave the room, she'd give him the book and get him to read to the rest of the class because he had the reading skills.
Really?
Don't you remember that?
No.
Yes, Ms. Geddes would, if she had to go out into the hall, she put the book in your hand and you read to the kids. You don't remember that?
Not even a little bit. Rock on. Good for me.
I say this all the time. Sesame Street's good for the world. It's a great show. It might be the best TV show of all time. Because it's the only one that actually does anything good. And
also, I don't like Elmo, but I really like Elmo Palooza. I think that's a really good film. I think that's one of my favorite genre films is Elmo Palooza, in the genre of Elmo.
All right, I'll watch it.
Oh, Cam, if you haven't seen Elmo Palooza, you should.
Well, I watched a fine entry in the Sesame Street cinematic universe, Elmo's Adventures in Grouchland, this week, and I thought it was very good. The musical numbers were awesome. A lot of good representation, good story, a lot of great puppets. They brought in some old Henson puppets to fill out the background actors.
My computer right now is resting on 4 of my gigantic Henson Muppet books.
Yeah, Henson.
Like, I'm obsessed. I want to work with Muppets. So this is what I'm saying. Somebody needs to make some sort of indie genre film for the Cuff Festival that stars me and some Muppets. And that's where we get the uncanny valley, because you look at the Muppets and you think like, oh, it's going to be one thing, but they're going to be just slightly off in some way.
We got a movie like that this year, Karen, called Frank and Zed. You should check out.
Shut up!
It's a Frankenstein story about trying to wrangle body parts to make your creations, all told with puppets, and is wild.
The only reason I want to be famous, like hugely famous, is because then maybe I could guest on Sesame Street with some Muppets, like Harry Belafonte or whatever, right? That's all I want to do is work with Muppets. I want to work with the Muppets.
Sesame Street looks like the best job. Every time I'm watching the actors or with the camera moves, I'm like, these people have the best job. They go to this great studio, get to work with top of the line children entertainers and musicians. That'd be a great job. I'll bet SNL is a terrible job and Sesame Street is a great job.
I bet you're 100% right.
All right, Cam, let's get to the freaking brass tacks.
Brass tacks.
Where do people go to stream Cuff? And where do people, after you finish telling us about Cuff, tell us where people can watch Red Letter Day.
Okay, so the Calgary Underground Film Festival is now live. Some of the movies only have a limited streaming window, so go to calgaryundergroundfilm.org and see when the limited movies are. These are the huge ones. These are the Mads Mikkelsen movies. These are the Ed Helm. Ed Helm.
Yeah.
Together, and Riders of Justice are the aforementioned movies. They're only available for a certain period of time. And what else do we got that's only available for a certain period of time? Coming Home in the Dark, Crypto Zoo. Michael Cera's in one of those. Coming Home in the Dark is this crazy Australian thriller that I get to moderate a conversation for tonight. Looking forward to that. But yeah, CalgaryUndergroundFilm.org. You can see all the movies or follow us on Facebook and Instagram. We'll be posting interviews with the filmmakers or behind the scenes clips. And we have Q&As for a majority of these films. So yeah, I mean, we're up till May the 2nd. So you got 9 days from today. I'm not sure when the podcast goes up, but you'll have plenty of time to watch some cool movies. Oh, and Red Letter Day is on Amazon Prime. Red Letter Day is on Amazon Prime, iTunes, Google Play, Blu-ray, VHS, Tubi.
Just text Cam. He'll get you one.
Yeah, I'll get you one. I'll loan you the Blu-ray so you can listen to the commentary with me and my buds.
Speaking of which, you have a little mini Cuff podcast, right? Cuffcast? Don't you talk with some folks?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we just started a Cuffcast. So Cuff has access to the coolest people that don't really get on to podcasts because they're very niche group that are mostly in the film fest or genre releasing community. And we love these people and know they're entertaining. So we started a platform to interview them. And so my best bud, Rhett Miller, and I love just chatting about, obscure, strange movies. And we have this natural rapport that I just feel that people may be entertained by, hopefully. But we are also both young dads that want an excuse to stay relevant by interviewing people who are doing cool shit while we're, rearing our children so that when we're ready to do cool stuff again, we'll be fully armored. It's called Cuffcast.
With my child at my side with a broadsword.
Yeah, he was helping me he was doing the dishwasher with me yesterday. I'm hoping, I hope he'll be useful.
Well, this is my proving to my mother that I'm useful. The Breakfast Dish is a member of the Alberta Podcast Network, locally grown, community supported. The intro music you just heard and the outro music you're about to hear is by Alexandra Cowman. All graphic design for The Breakfast Dish has been done by Morgan Ermter. Karen, what's going on this week?
I got to talk about some other places you can see films, and I'm trying to make sure that they don't necessarily conflict, but they might overlap each other a little bit.
It's fine.
Cam's going to freak out if you say something wrong here.
No, we're a non-profit. If you want it, we're here. If there's something else going on, that's fine.
I will look at these other film fests as well, but not if they're playing on the same time as Laughter, So Late, So True, or Frank and Zed. We talked about this, Griffin, on one of our ads, but we haven't spoken about it in real life, which is the NorthWestFest, the International Documentary Festival, which is my mother's favorite festival in the world. She goes with her friend Lynn.
It's a great festival.
I thought you were about to break into a full 5-minute song there.
Oh, the NorthWestFest is really great. No, NorthWestFest in Edmonton You can go to NorthWestFest.ca, Documentary Film Festival, online May 6th to 16th, 2021. And the Canadian Queer Arts Society, their 23rd Annual Fairy Tales Film Festival, May 21st to the 30th. You can go to CalgaryQueerArtsSociety.com to find out about the Fairy Tale Film Festival. There you go, Griff.
Hey, thanks. Cam, how we like to wrap up the breakfast dish is Karen will make up an improvised question, as she is a professional improviser, that may or may not have something to do with what we talked to you about, but it might be totally out there. Here we go. 3, 2, 1.
Okay, you're making a breakfast genre movie. I want the title of it and the star.
Blood Sausage, starring Steve Buscemi. And he's a So he's a butcher who's slowly going out of work in the small town when the Walmart moves in and people go for cheaper meat. And so he tweaks his recipe ever so slightly.
In a Sweeney Todd way?
It's a Sweeney Todd way. He's getting revenge on the conglomerate by murdering them and selling them as his sausage. And the tagline will be, "Eat the rich."
Okay, just a second. Copyright. Cam thought that up. That's his. No one else can make that film because now I want to see that film.
That would be pretty sweet.
And Karen will be playing the sausage.
The sausage is puppets?
Yeah, let's go all the way, Karen. Let's have puppets as the meat. Jan Schwankmeyer, he's a puppeteer, stop-motion animator. He made a great version of Alice in Wonderland called Alice. He made a stop-motion animation film that had puppet meat. Lots of puppet meat. It was absolutely crazy.
I'd love to live inside your brain. There is so much fantastic knowledge about films inside your brain.
Yeah, it can be a dark place sometimes, but it's been a great place lately.
Just turn on more Sesame Street. That's all you need.
Sesame Street? Yeah, honestly, whenever I watch it, I'm just like, this is good for the world. Even if it is like a Coca-Cola Disney thing. Disney and Coca-Cola aren't good for the world. Sesame Street.
Sesame Street is good for the world.
I've been really thinking about an ending catchphrase for this podcast, so here we go. Sesame Street and puppet meat. Peace out, breakfast.
All right.
Griffin, guess what?
What?
This episode of The Breakfast Dish is sponsored by ATB. Do you know what ATB stands for?
We have ads now? Oh my God.
We have ads because we're part of the Alberta Podcast Network.
Well, here's a little secret. I do know what ATB is because I'm with them. I have a debit card, so this is conflict of interest.
Okay, so let me tell you. You were born in 1996 and I was born in 1966 and ATB was opened in 1938 and their entire job then was to support Albertans during hard times. Are we in hard times right now? Yeah. Are they still going to help us? Yeah, they are. Because they've got a Bill to Help Albertans campaign, and they're going to help Albertans recover from the effects of COVID. This is a downturn. It's not over, but ATB was built to help Albertans like you and like me.
So ATB is here to answer the hard questions.
Yeah, any hard questions that you might have as an ATB account holder.
So I'll go to my bank and go, where do babies come from?
That's great. Yep.
And sorry, what you're saying is you'll promise me that they'll answer those.
Well, they say they'll answer commonly asked questions.
Well, I don't know where babies come from.
That's pretty common.
Yeah, maybe not of my age group, but they won't judge. ATB is great.
Ask them anything. They're going to help you because we need the help.
This has been The Breakfast Dish.